Welcome to Eye to Eye. Tony Hall is here. Tony is an actor, playwright, dramatist, filmmaker, television presenter. He was a key person in the Banyan team and one of the original creators of the original Gayelle series. Over many years, he has devised and developed some methods and processes drawn from elements of our own culture, such as the Jouvay process and the Jamet consciousness. In recent years, he's been working, trying to to develop some feature films and some screenplays, not least of all, trying to bring to the screen his award-winning drama, Gene and Dinah. Welcome, Tony.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Right. Before we go any further, I know that central to your work and central to your ideology and what you also brought to Banyan was a sense of popular theater or community theater activism. What does that mean, and what does it mean to you, and how have you applied those things that you sort of learned through Catalyst Theatre in Edmonton in Canada and things like that? And from your own instincts, how have you applied that to our own situation here?
Well, I'm glad you asked me in terms of what it means to me, because in my journey and my search, I was never looking for what has emerged now that looks very much like a prescription as to how one should do theater, or you know, it's so easy to become prescriptive. It has been a journey that started in San Fernando with James Liwa. And when I got to Canada, what happened was that there was a sense that I would just go and act. You know, I would just be in theater. Professors would say, yeah, you go right ahead. But of course, I found myself in Western Canada where there were no black actors, and where no black actors were going to be hired for many years while I was there. So one had to find something about oneself. One had to find something about oneself. This person had to find something about themselves. I grew up in a home in San Fernando where the local cultural whatever was always important. I mean, we had rituals at home where we would listen to the Marche Gras, where our mom would take us to Jouvay almost religiously. At a certain time, you had to be up and you were out on the street, and you would follow a certain trek along Coffee Street, down Lord Street, up Mukrapo Street, around Library Corner, every Jouvay morning religiously, something that you look forward to.
And this is despite the fact that your father was a classics teacher, a Latin teacher.
I saw his degree the other day. And it was a degree in Latin, Greek, and philosophy, and this came from Codrington College in Barbados, when they would, those days in the I suppose what was early 20th century, when they would pick out the little bright black boys and train them really to be Anglican ministers, because Codrington College was this college that was connected to Newcastle in England. So yes, so he was this classical guy who on Sundays would read Greek poetry to us and cry and say, "This is so beautiful," you know. And at the same time,
your mom was taking you all around Jouvay morning.
And no, at the same time, what I was going to say, at the same time, he would be playing Sparrow and Melody, calypsos on those his record player.
And this is, of course, you and your brother Dennis,
now
known as Sprang.
But anyhow, what I'm saying is, so I get to Canada, and all of this is in my background, but the trajectory at that time is that you leave this behind, and I'm going to do theater, because at home, at home, he would play records of T.S. Eliot, T.S. Eliot,
Gielgud,
and Rex Harrison singing Oklahoma, and so you know, and stuff like that. So there's this sense that there is, yes, we have this cultural thing on the ground, because in addition to which, I must add, this is very important, Beryl McBurney came to San Fernando around the time that we were little kids, and she and her company came into our living room and danced in our living room, right? It's the only time I've ever seen
And I'm sure she made you dance too.
Well, no, we
Come
were.
on, darling, come on,
We
darling.
didn't know. Well, if she had seen us, we were in the back looking through looking through the keyhole.
Right.
But anyhow, I get to Canada, and there are you know, I meet one or two Trinidadians who are talking about carnival, and somewhere along the line, Errol Hill's book comes out, and this
Mandate for a national theatre.
Mandate for a national theatre, and this fuss is being made about carnival and so on. A carnival about which I know something, but in my own way. I haven't done the research, I haven't read anything. I know it personally. But I don't connect this to my theater. I don't connect this to this theater that I'm going to do, this, whatever. But what happens is I don't get into it, because when I go to audition, they're saying, well, you know, Mr. Chekhov did not write a black part. You know, and I say, well, Mr. Chekhov did not write a white part either, but of course I don't get. But then, so then you are thrown back on yourself. And at the same time, I go for a job, and the director said, well, I know a little social action theater down the road, and what they're doing is they're doing something with some blind people, or they're doing, no, that wasn't blind people. That was, I had worked with blind people sometime before. They were doing something with mentally handicapped. And there's some legal people who want to do something with mentally handicapped and the law. And I say, oh, okay, you know, it's work, I want to be a professional. So I go and I create this play with mentally handicapped people. And it's a play that explores what they understand and where they are at. And I work with them for 2 years. And I learn something about understanding. I learn something that, in a sense, we are all mentally handicapped. You know, and it's a matter of degrees. Right. And out of that, I devise a system where mentally handicapped people can do scenes. And when one mentally handicapped person infringes on the rights or freedom of another, I can stop the scene and ask somebody in the audience, what is happening there? What should this person do? What should that person do? Later on, I discovered this is something called popular theater. Mm-hmm. And later on, I understand that there is a popular theater that is happening in socialist countries, in Africa, in India, in Bangladesh, in Cuba, in Nicaragua, in Brazil, that is based on the popular culture of the particular place. In other words, the people have evolved ways of dealing with each other, mm-hmm. but they're not aware that these are solutions to their problems, or there are essences in those ways that can be solutions to their problems. So what the popular theater worker does is sort of editorializes the particular situations using people.
Give an example.
Okay, the best example is really a kind of to look at Trinidad, right? Because this is how I applied it to Trinidad. In Trinidad, we have this carnival. Right. This carnival is something that we have done naturally. In the carnival, we have created traditional characters, mm-hmm. endless traditional characters. You need to teach something about whatever. Maybe something about gender. Right. It's a good one. Gender politics. We have created the baby doll. Right. And the baby doll has a specific theater. The baby doll has a specific theater demanding sustenance from renegade fathers for their babies. Right. And you therefore say, that's popular theater. That people have done that spontaneously. People have done that without even thinking that they're doing theater. Right. What you do as a popular theater worker in a specific situation of maybe getting women to realize their rights, maybe training young men to take responsibility, is you structure some situation using that, which is a popular form, to animate whoever you want to animate.